Boa noite. Esta semana a reportagem alargada regressa a Hong Kong, desta vez para analisar os porquês e as consequências da decisão de Pequim em relação às eleições de 2017. A análise de 3 personalidades que defendem que Pequim não tem razões para recear a democracia em Hong Kong e muito menos em Macau. A reportagem de Rita Tavares Teles.
Jornalistas de todo o mundo têm estado em Hong Kong a cobrir o movimento de desobediência civil ao longo das últimas semanas. Ditam as regras do jornalismo que qualquer notícia deve responder a 6 perguntas essenciais: quem, o quê, onde, quando, como e porquê.
Hong Kong people are quite indifferent to politics, but why they come out to occupy the main role here? Simply because the Hong Kong government never hear us, never listen to us.
What is the citizen feeling? What is the student feeling? What is the adult feeling? What is the worker feeling?
Give Hong Kong an opportunity to discuss about constitutional reform again.
Em 1984, o Reino Unido e a República Popular da China assinaram a Declaração Conjunta, o documento em que os dois países definiram as condições da transferência de soberania de Hong Kong, marcada para dia 1 de julho de 1997. E, nesse dia, entrou em vigor a Lei Básica, a mini-constituição redigida por Pequim.
I mean, when they negotiated about Hong Kong's future, when they wrote it in the basic law about universal suffrage, it's only 2 words, universal suffrage. But how that works was not written down because they didn't know it either, probably. So they were, again, crossing the river by feeding stones.
Hao Zedong é especialista em questões da China e, em particular, na reforma política chinesa. E ficou surpreendido quando, em agosto, o Comitê Permanente da Assembleia Popular Nacional anunciou que, em 2017, a população de Hong Kong ia, de facto, poder votar, mas numa eleição com 2 ou 3 candidatos que antes teriam de reunir o apoio de pelo menos 50% de uma comissão de nomeação composta por 1.200 pessoas.
I'm guessing that even the pro-government groups were thinking about a more open process, a more representative process.
E mais uma vez surge a pergunta: porquê? Porquê é que Pequim tomou esta decisão?
They appear to be confident, but they're not really very confident, so that's the issue. So if they're not confident, they want to be 100% sure that the next chief executive will be what the person they like, you know. But that's a mistake because they didn't have full trust in Hong Kong people.
And after all, I think that the Beijing actually has not enough faith in themselves, not enough faith in how to establish a healthy relationship with the SAR, Hong Kong or Macau. You can give them a certain degree of freedom, and in reward, you can win some respect and loyalty from the people in Hong Kong and Macau.
Scott Chiang está a estudar em Taiwan, de onde tem acompanhado as notícias de Hong Kong. É um dos líderes da nova geração de ativistas pró-democracia em Macau. Ngo Kok-shon é na Assembleia o deputado desse campo com mais apoio popular e faz uma leitura diferente do porquê da decisão de Pequim.
Hong Kong and Macau people really want, especially the new generation, they want a new, real democracy, but not Xi Jinping. Not only because he in the ruling position. He should do what the position should do. But also for Xi Jinping and their generation, what they feel that democracy is almost equal to Great Cultural Revolution. They do not trust this.
E não só isso.
They feel that the past years, the old leaders, they do not do anything to control. Let the against party become strong. We must do something. Even though they do something to control, to make sure the control may create some against it. Okay, it's a political struggle. They do not afraid Political struggle. Political struggle, if you do not set off, they will set off later. Maybe more important.
Mas até que ponto é que a decisão de Pequim limita ou não o sucesso do princípio um país, dois sistemas aplicado às duas regiões administrativas especiais?
It's one country, no doubt, right? You're part of China, and you're patriotic, you know, which is okay. But if you're if the definition of patriotism is the love of the party, then that's a problem, because patriotism has nothing to do with, or doesn't have to do with the love of one organization, the love of one party.
The SAR government is supposed to be the bridge between the two. But more and more we will see that it's more like the government is actually Beijing's loudspeaker telling us what Beijing wants and what Beijing doesn't want. And does it work the other way around? I'm not so sure.
How can the two systems work in Macau? It's because central government feel that they already control Macau. They do not want to control more. I think Macau is in this situation now.
What happens in Macau certainly is a failure of one country, two systems, right? That's a good example of failure. I don't know whether these people just want to say whatever the central government wants to listen, or would they really believe that Macau is a success of one country, two systems? Economically, we're about one system, you know, almost only one system. Politically, we are one system. So why is that one country, two systems? Where's the two system?
There are more liberties, you would say.
Yeah, that's the only difference. There's more liberties. That's the only difference between mainland China and Macau. But is that enough for a good model of one country, two system?
Let them feel that they can control what happened in Macau, but we can criticize. We can give some supervise, and also let the government leaders, they can improve themselves. In the small circle election, they cannot improve themselves. If we have a suffrage, even though I cannot join in the game, but they must face the second time suffrage. They cannot give so much important interest transfers inside the small circle to hurt Macau so hard. Therefore, it's a person target. Conflict against the central government not so important as in Hong Kong.
In Macau, the ruling camp is actually very firm in power. There's no realistic threat from the opposition to actually take over the government and go against Beijing. No, it's actually pretty safe for Beijing to have a more open election in Macau. Beijing has no realistic reason to be afraid that Kok Chang or Outcome Son, or even worse, Jason Chow is elected as chief executive. No, not in 100 years.
If I become a chief executive, may hurt Macau. If the mainland China do something, of course that they do not allow. If they allow me to become a chief executive, then maybe I will become 100% obey the order. If I don't obey the order, they will punish not me but Macau. I don't want to see this.
Apesar de Macau ser, por norma, considerado o filho bem comportado de Pequim e Hong Kong o filho rebelde, Hao Zedong acredita que, para isso, para dar espaço a essa rebeldia, é que foi criado o princípio um país, dois sistemas.
Hong Kong was going to be a success of one country, two systems, but was kind of stopped.
Hao Zedong acredita que foi travado por uma mão mais pesada de Pequim, que exige patriotismo à sociedade de Hong Kong e agora lhe limita o sufrágio universal prometido, em traços gerais, é um facto, há 30 anos. O resultado foram vários protestos que culminaram no movimento de desobediência civil que levou milhares à rua, sobretudo jovens com sonhos e exigências para fazer ao governo de Hong Kong e a Pequim.
CY Leone is not going to step down. National Standing Committee of the People's Congress is not going to, withdraw its decision. But there are other ways to compromise. Actually, when the Standing Committee made that decision, they left one venue of maneuver, some room for maneuver, which is the composition of that committee, that nomination committee.
So that it exists in name, but we have de facto public nomination. That is one way to solve the problem, but it actually is not easy. It requires very much wisdom and sacrifice from both camps.
You can just broaden the base of that election or electorate. Then you almost include everyone, not everyone, but maybe include majority of the Hong Kong people.
Mas será que isso chega para os estudantes de Hong Kong e será que têm escolha?
Students will have to learn, they have to learn to do politics. And in politics, one of the major or maybe paramount principle is compromise. Otherwise, no one is going to get anything. So you don't want to end up in a situation where the government fails, you fail. Everyone fails. I hope that they will learn to compromise. But if they don't learn, then they will learn the hard lessons of, okay, you just go and sitting on the street for a long time. Gradually, fewer people will come, then you disband. You didn't get anything.
Mas Scott Chiang acredita que também Pequim tem de aprender com esta lição.
I think Hong Kong people and Macau people are quite sophisticated and practical people. We are not some crusaders fighting always for ideological goals. No, we just ordinary people want a justice society, and we want to make our own living. That's all. So the biggest fault Beijing make is to let people know that they don't trust them.
Em resposta à decisão de Pequim, no dia 22 de setembro, segunda-feira, 13 mil estudantes começaram uma semana de boicote às aulas. Dias depois, os estudantes forçavam a entrada em Civic Square, em frente à sede do governo. Nessa noite houve várias detenções e no dia seguinte milhares de jovens saíram à rua e ocuparam as zonas de Admiralty e Wang Chai. Mais tarde, Causeway Bay e Mong Kok foram exigir uma verdadeira democracia em Hong Kong. Se é fácil responder às primeiras 5 perguntas obrigatórias em qualquer notícia, é a sexta, o porquê, que despertou o debate ao longo das últimas semanas e que merece atenção durante os próximos anos, em que a relação entre a nova liderança em Pequim e as duas regiões administrativas especiais vai ter de encontrar um novo equilíbrio.
People are doing it by, like Deng Xiaoping or the Chinese government said, crossing the river by feeding the stones. You see how it works, then you go one step at a time.
Foi a reportagem alargada. Até para a semana.